Hi everyone, welcome to Fire Mountain Gems and Beads Jewelry Making Studio. We got a really good project for you. This is a real basic. It's called the brick stitch. A lot of you seed beaters probably already know it, but I want to make sure everybody knows it. It is such a versatile stitch because it's so easy to increase and decrease and make any shape you want with brick stitch. It's really popular for triangle or diamond earrings. So if you want to make some nice seed bead earrings, you should go with brick stitch. Now I'm going to be using size 8 delicas because they're nice and big and you can see what I'm doing. I'm using size 8 delicas, I'm using some fireline and a needle, and we're off to the races. It begins by picking up 2 beads and starting to create a ladder stitch. So 2 beads. I went through the 2 beads. I'm going to get down here near the end of my tail. I'm leaving about 6 inches of tail to work with. I don't really need a stop bead because I'm doing a stop bead right now. I'm going back through the first bead. Same direction. Going through it. And the objective here is to get your beads to line up side by side. And this is one of the reasons why I chose to use delicas, because they're cylinders. They line up side by side really easily. It's really nice. Other round beads, this will work with any bead, but the delicas are going to be the easiest, especially if you're learning. I'm going down through this bead again. Add a bead. And I'm going to go the opposite direction here, so I'm making a circle around this second bead. And it's going to line up next door to the others. And that's why it's called a ladder stitch, because these beads are supposed to look like the rungs of a ladder. And you just keep going roundy, 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 making sure they all line up, and keep adding on until you get as long a ladder stitch as you want. I'm not going to make this very long because I just want to show you how this is done. So here we have, let's do 6. That's 4. 5, and I want to come out this bead, so I'm going to go up through the bottom, out through the top. I'm pulling it tight between each one. You notice I'm kind of keeping it between my fingers when I pull it tight, hoping I can make it line up like the ladder it's supposed to be. And let's add one more. And go down. Tie that all in place. Okay, now I've got my tail coming out the same place as my ladder. So I'm going to do a little manipulation to make my working thread come out the top. So I'm going to go this way. Oh, and by the way, a lot of people like to just go through their whole ladder stitch again just to make it more secure. I don't find that's really necessary. I'm going to go down this way. And then I'm going to be sneaky and I'm going to come up this last bead because that's what was my goal, to have my thread coming out the top of that bead. There we go. Okay, now for every row, you're going to add 2 beads. So at the beginning of the row, you add 2 beads. Now, brick stitch is a little different than peyote, which is probably the most common type of stitch, in that we're not going to go through beads this time. We're going to go through bridges. So these threads across the tops, I call those bridges. And I'm going to go through the bridge between bead, I don't know what you want to call them, 2 and 3, A and B, C and D, I don't know. But I'm going to go through this bridge right here, under this bridge, I should say, not necessarily through. Under the bridge, pull that up, and then I will go up through the last bead, and that forces it to lay down nice and tight, sort of like a brick. So there's where we're getting our brick stitch. There's going to be a bead between each bead. But you notice I've come through this one a couple times. This one is kind of hanging out funny. So we're going to have to make it behave by going through it again And using basically the ladder stitch technique, go through that one that was behaving to tie the two together so that the two will stand up next to each other. Kind of magical the way it just does it. And you can see already we've started a decrease. So brick stitch automatically lends itself to a decrease. And I will also show you how to do an increase, but this would be called a decrease. We're going to decrease each row by 1 bead. Now we started that row with 2 beads. From now on, we're only going to do 1 bead. So 1 bead through the under the next bridge. Back up through the bead to make it lay down the way I want it. Where are you, little guy? There we go. Keep it all nice and tight. Look at that. Add another bead. Go under the next bridge. Under that bridge. Up through the bead. Ta-da! You can see where it gets the name brick stitch. Grab another bead, under the bridge, up through that bead, and we finished our second row. And we've got a nice little decrease going. Turn it over so we can work the other direction, because I'm right-handed. I'm sorry, you left-handed people out there. I'm starting a new row, so this time I'm adding 2 beads. I'm not going through the next bridge. I'm going to the next bridge after that. So that bridge is where I'm headed. Up through the second bead. Not that first one on the edge, but this one here. Pull him nice and tight so he lays down the way I want him. And then tie his companion to him so that he will lay down nice too. There we go. And pull everything nice and tight, and you can see where we've gotten our third row going, and we're getting another decrease. And from here on, the rest of the row, we only do single beads. Pick up a 1 bead, go under the bridge, back up through there, pick up 1 bead, go under the bridge, go back up, pull everything tight. There's row 3. You can see how this could make an earring very easily. We're starting a new row, so it's 2 beads, not through this bridge, but through the next one. Up through this last bead. Back down through this one that's misbehaving, and tie it to its companion. Ta-da. Pull everything nice and tight. 1 more bead for that row. Go through under the next bridge. Back up through this bead. There we go. Time to turn it over again. We'll start this row right here. And look at that, we only need 2 beads for the whole row. So there's 2 beads, skipping this bridge, going through the next one. It feels weird, but it's right. Go there, go up through this bead to make him lay straight. So we've got to tie this companion down. There we go. Now we have options. My favorite thing to end this now is just string on about 6 beads and make a loop. Or you could add 1 more bead by going up and through and down and about, and then add a jump ring to the top of that. I'm going to do the bead method. Let's see, let me add about 4, 5, 6, these are big beads, 7, 8. We'll make it a nice big loop. So I've added 8 beads, and I can go down through this bead right here, and then I've got a loop that I can attach an ear wire to. Ta-da! Now let me show you how to increase. So I'm going to skittle down through all these beads. Skittling is just a term for weaving through all the beads without letting any of the thread show. And literally all I did was went right down through all those 5 beads right there, all the way down. And we'll play on this end. So this is the side we started with. And this time we're going to add beads and make this get bigger. So I'm going to do 2 beads, but I will go through the first bridge, not the second bridge. I'm going to go under the first bridge and back through this bead. It's almost the exact same action. Back through this bead. And tie these 2 together. You don't have to do this step, the tying the 2 together. I like it. I feel it's more secure. So I tie these 2 beads together just like I did when I was decreasing. The only difference is which bridge I went in. And you can see we've added a bead to our row. Now we can add them one at a time. By just adding a bead, going through under the next bridge, oh, that one's linked up on me. There we go. Under the bridge, back up, pick up a bead, under the bridge, back up, and now we don't have a bridge to go through. So all we can do with this last one is just tie it to your companion, just like we have before. We're going to do a little bit differently. I'm going to go down through this bead that's down here diagonal and go through. And then I want to be able to come out this bead. So I'm going to do a little finagling by going up through this one. And you can choose your own path. This is the way I'm going. As long as you get to the same goal, it doesn't matter. I'm going down through this one. And notice how when I do this, get this one out of the way. When I do this, I choose a path so that the thread falls into the gutter here so that it's invisible when I pull it tight. Ta-da. Okay. Then I'm going to go through here. And pull that one tight. And that thread's going into that gutter right there. And then I'm going to pop over here and go through my target. There we go. And that thread dropped down in between all these. There we go. And now we can do another increase. The nice thing about this brick stitch is, let's say I want a big old arm going out this way. All I'd have to do is add 5 or 6 ladder stitches out here. And once I've added all those ladder stitches, I can start brick stitching again. So this is really great for making shapes. I hope you get a chance to practice this stitch, and maybe you've done a lot. Oh, and another thing that's nice about brick stitch, look at the bottom of this. This is perfect for adding tassels and fringe, because you can go through, add a bunch of fringe, go back. Oh, it's a great stitch. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining me. Happy beading.